Mary was in a big hurry to get home. She had a funeral to attend in Massachusetts tomorrow. Someone gave her a ride, but she never got home. She was not seen again until 2 days later. Skydivers discovered her badly beaten body lying beside the remote grass airstrip they were using that day. It was a spot only locals knew about. Gracie Evans Field. Dan Alha was a young pilot from Old Orchard Beach flying skydivers on weekends out of Gracie Evans Field.
Yeah, so we loaded up. I remember taking off, and I used like 2/3 of the runway and then lifted off, heading south, and there were trees down the end of the runway, so you had to clear the trees. I kind of just glanced, out the window, and because you wanted to clear the trees. That's when I saw a body down in the grass.
Back when I was a teenager in the 70s, Kennebunk was a small, sleepy town. We didn't really have a whole lot to do. We had a drive-in. We had the bowling alley, which was pretty much our hangout. We went to parties on hot summer nights, oftentimes up here in the woods. And on Sundays, the Thunderbird skydivers used to jump up here on the weekends, and this was an activity that we liked to do, is come up on a Sunday afternoon and watch the skydivers jump up here off Old Number 10 at Gracie Evans Field. So there had been a big party the night before, maybe a mile or two from here, and the next day I came up here as I often did. I was up here with my cousin Linda that day to watch the skydivers jump. We drove on in up to Gracie Evans Field, and we were parked along the side of the field, along with a lot of other people that came up to watch. Watched the plane taxi down the dirt runway to take off for their first jump. And when they went up, they didn't gain altitude like they usually did. They just kind of made a low circle close to the ground.
I was pretty sure it was a person with no clothes on. We cleared the trees, and I got the plane, all squared away. And I said to the other people, "Do you see that? There was, I think there was somebody there or something." I remember saying. And so we made a big circle around. We're still climbing, climbing up to altitude. And this time we made a turn, came back around the field, and everybody looked out the window. And I looked out the window, I said, "That's a person." So we came back around and landed. And as the plane rolled out, it kind of, as you're slowing down on the runway, we just happened to end up down that end of the runway, so shut off the engine. So then we walked over to it, and then it was obvious it was a person and probably deceased,
And they all got out, and we thought, well, maybe they had engine trouble with the plane or something. And we're all just trying to see what they were doing, and it looked like they were looking at something in the field. And
there were flies around. It was a hot day, and it smelled pretty bad too. And she had no clothes, but I think there were like panties around 1 foot or something. I think I remember that. And she was face down too. And then kind of hustled back to the plane, turned around to run, because we were out in the middle of nowhere, Taxi all the way back the other end of the runway where all the people were, and he said, there's a woman down there dead, Somebody call the police.
And I got a call on the radio that a body had been spotted up in Gracie Evans's field by some people that were skydiving. So seeing I was the only one that knew where Gracie Evans's field was, and actually it was only about maybe 2 miles from my house, I jumped in my car and went right up. There was a body there, face down, just off the side of the dirt runway that they used when they were doing skydiving up there.
We had come back from a day hiking up in the White Mountains that Sunday. And that Sunday afternoon, we pulled into Kennebunk, and there was a buzz around town that they had found a body that day. Who was it? Who's missing? Which one of our friends isn't around? Who could it be?
Earlier that day, Mary went with a friend to the annual Kennebunk Port Dump Parade. The parades were a satirical celebration of New England's town dumps as places for gossip, swaps, in politics. The government was demanding towns close their dumps, so the town was having some fun with it. After the parade, Mary ran into her best friend, Dawn Osborne, at a popular local hangout.
We were driving past the monastery and she was walking up on the other side of the road in front of the monastery. Mary, Mary, and she, Dawn, you better get home. Your mother's worried about you. I had run away from home and I'd been gone for almost a week. My mother came with Father Geiger and knocked on the door where I was. And of course, everybody lied and said I wasn't there. Then the next day I went home, but my mother wasn't there.
That was the last time Dawn saw Mary alive. Mary put out her thumb for a ride back to Kennebunk. Barbara Cager's aunt saw her by the road and offered her a ride.
My aunt was very upset because Mary was hitchhiking. And she told her, if you want, I'll take you all the way to Kennebunk because we only live down the street. And Mary said, no, no, no.
Mary had to be home early that evening. Her father was driving her to Massachusetts for the funeral of her boyfriend's brother. Michael Higgins, then 20 years old, endured a horrific week that began July 3rd.
July 3rd, my brother and a friend of mine, we were coming up to Kennebunk to go to a party, was in a car in front of us, and they hit a guardrail, ejected, both dead on impact.
Before heading home, Mary had one more party to attend. The kids often threw keg parties on a hillock of land on Route 9, where they could see cops coming from both directions. The land is now occupied by homes. Linda Lawrence Frederick was alone at the bowling alley when Mary arrived.
The bowling alley was empty. Then Mary came in. She had come to get something at the bowling alley. And then she asked me if I was going to the party, and I said I was. So we had checked together. After that, she went with her friends, I went with my friends, and...
The friends included Jackie O'Keefe, her sister Candace, and Rebecca Dayon. Rebecca had run into a family friend, a guy named Dave.
It was daylight, and we were there for a while. And then I split off between all my friends and ended up with Dave. Jackie, Candy, and Mary wanted to catch a ride to the Sunoco station. So when we left, we dropped them there.
This is where memories begin to differ these many years later. Jackie O'Keefe Lincoln distinctly remembers a walk on the beach.
In fact, we were at Kennebunk Beach between the party on the hill and then Kennebunk Beach. And then because she was crying, because she was saddened by the loss of these folks. And so we consoled her and we decided, you know what, it's time to go home. So we made our way. We got dropped off at Cooper's Corner, I believe, and then we went our separate ways.
What time of day was it when you left her at Cooper's Corner?
It was nighttime.
It was dark.
It was dark.
A witness saw Mary get into a car going north on Route 35. That route passes the famous Wedding Cake House. The Tanner home on Cat Newsom Road was a little more than 5 miles from Cooper's Corner, about 3.5 miles from the bridge in downtown Kennebunk. Witnesses told one of the local papers that they saw Mary near the bridge at about midnight. Sally Dixon Howley ran a late-night hot dog stand on Main Street, 2 blocks north of the bridge.
Somebody had to have given her a ride through town to Cumberland Farms. Because if they had let her off anywhere else and she had walked by my hot dog wagon, she would have come in. She would never have walked by my hot dog wagon without saying, hey, Sally, what time are you closing? Can you give me a ride or something? She was just a lot of fun. She loved to joke, and She was a really, really nice kid. She used to come down and say, you know, Sally, she said, my girlfriend and I want to go to New York for the weekend, but my mother won't let me go. But she said, I bet you that if I told her that you were going to chaperone, she'd let me go. And I said, oh yeah, Mary, I'd be a good chaperone, honey, because I'd be the one that would be out there having, you know, drinking and raising holy hell in New York, never mind watching you, you know. She would just laugh and she'd say, my mother would let me go if you were chaperoning, and that was so funny.
That awful Friday night when Mary disappeared, a customer seems to know something has happened.
You rolling? Okay, so Sally, you were tending your hot dog stand on Friday night with July 7th, 1978, and it was the day of the dump parade, the
Right,
Kennebunkport Dump Association. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Kennebunkport Dump Association. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happened?
And the parade had gone through, so this was probably, what, 10 o'clock or so, I would say. It had all quieted down, everybody had left and everything, and then this guy came to the hot dog wagon and said that there had been a girl murdered in Kennebunk. And I said, really? What happened? And he said, oh, I don't know, but somebody said that some girl was murdered and everything. And I said, oh my God, you know. And anyway, the guy left. Then around midnight, the cop drove up to the hot dog wagon, came out, ordered a coffee and a hot dog. And while I was fixing everything, I asked him who the girl was that was murdered in Kennebunk. And he said, what? And I said, well, I was told by one of my customers that a girl had been murdered here in Kennebunk tonight. And I said, and the cop said, no, we hadn't heard nothing like that. And I said, oh, well, I don't know. Somebody told me that. And I said, I was just, you know, repeating it, asking and everything. So anyway.
That afternoon, Dawn headed home after a week in Wells with her boyfriend, John Ames.
She usually told somebody, she always told somebody, oh, she'd leave these cryptic notes. We're like, I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be, these cryptic notes. Hieroglyphics were easy to read. So she'd leave these cryptic notes, and there were no notes. So we did the clue thing. It was almost like geocache. You know, you're looking around and going, okay, well, maybe it's here. And Dad said she didn't tell him, because she usually told him. He didn't tell my mother, but she told, or me, but I hadn't been home. And then it was just, that Saturday was just a mess. And he went to the police, but everyone knew each other. So he went there, but not as, like on TV, oh, you know, I'm concerned. It was like, if you see her, tell her to come home, or mom's worried type of thing.
This is number 10. A big keg party was held here that Saturday, July 8, not far from Gracie Evans Field. It was said to be a birthday party, and some remembered a biker gang was there.
I can remember being there and being very uncomfortable. There were lots of people. There were some kegs. There was lots of alcohol.
You got to imagine being that young and having 10 kegs of beer and the type of people that show up.
I knew we were getting up early the following day to go hike in the White Mountains.
I do remember what it was like. I think it was Lloyd Perry's party. There were tents out in the woods. If you had to go out into the woods to relieve yourself, there were tents set up out there, and a lot of people. And as it got dark, it got scary.
I made the excuse that we really needed to leave and go back home so we could get up early.
One of Tim's hiking partners stayed the night at number 10.
So Sunday morning, we actually drove back up, drove down that road and picked up Kathy, and from there we went up into the White Mountains that Sunday morning.
Sally also vividly remembers that Sunday afternoon.
The cops drove into my driveway. They said they had found a girl murdered and that they wanted to talk to me and wanted me to look at the picture. And took me to the police station. They showed me the picture of the girl laying in the field. I did not recognize her. And why I didn't recognize the blue checkered flannel shirt that she had on to this day, that she was blonde and her hair was all black because it was full of blood, but I didn't know it was full of blood. I thought it was a dark-haired girl, so I thought it was Dawn Osborne.
What about that customer who said there was a murder?
He said that he was joking because in the dump parade, Pillsbury had a little thing with the body laying in it, like a hearse. It was and it was in the dump parade. And that's why he said that there was a body that had been murdered. He said it was because of the body he saw in the hearse. That's what I was told.
Officers with copies of the picture fanned out across town and began asking kids about it. There were several places in downtown Kennebunk where the kids might hang out. Barbara was with friends at a spot near the bridge when the cop showed up.
And I sat on Pizza Hill, just kind of waiting to see anybody who had gone to the party, how it went through the rest of the night. And there was a couple other girls, and I don't recollect who they were. Is when the police came to the hill, came up and showed me, or asked me first if I had any friends that were missing. And I said I didn't know. It was early yet. They asked me to take a look at a picture, and it was a picture of a dead body. It was a girl. And she was in the grass, face down. And gotta remember, I was 15 years old, and I didn't know what to do with that or who it was. And only the next day did I learn it was Mary.
The discovery at Gracie Evans Field fueled Dawn's fears as she continued looking for Mary.
I'm sitting there by myself and I'm going, why can't I find her? Why can't I, where is she? Why can't I find her? I got up off the couch and I just went out the door and thought that I could find her, so I just started walking. And then Corrine Wormwood picked me up, and I says, I'm trying to find Mary, and she said, I saw Mary last night. I says, but nobody can find her today. And then, they found a body, but they don't know whose it is.
That evening, local television newscasts showed the jewelry that was found on Mary's body. A neighbor recognized the Scrimshaw star necklace that Dawn, Jackie, and Mary wore.
Debbie DeTesto called me, a neighbor, and she said, oh my gosh, is Jackie there? And they're like, yeah. And she's like, no, I think Jackie's the one that they found in the field. And they're like, no, Jackie's here. And I'm like, Debbie, what's up? Because they showed the star on the news that that's what they found next to Mary. And when I saw that star, I knew it. And we hitchhiked to the police department to say, we think we know who was in that field based on that necklace. And then they said, oh, really? Tell me more, tell me more. And then we left.
By Monday afternoon, state police had established a command center at Park Street Elementary School.
And I was sitting at home, and my mom was there, and she said, we need to go talk to some people at Park Street. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And we're thinking it's Mary. We already had gone to the police the day before to say, we think we know who it is. And I was there talking to some people, and her dentist came in because she had the braces, but she was so happy that they were taken off. And the dentist said something out loud like, okay, if the teeth match, we can make it public now. And I went, Mom, why am I here? Why am I here? And she said that it was Mary. And I called Dawn when I got home. Hardest thing I ever had to do was call my friend Dawn to say what we feared the most is what happened.
A loud party was in progress when Dawn answered the telephone.
And the phone rings, and it was Jackie on the phone. And it says, Dawn, it's Mary. And I go, you know, the music's all loud and stuff. I go, Mary, where are you? I'll get somebody to come get you. Tell me where you are. And she goes, she was crying, of course. And she says, no, it's Mary. The body was Mary.